Anderson went down. Yeah, he said, I didn't do it. He did say that, but we hear that a lot. And I think if you and I are being fair, even we were guilty of not fully believing him. We chose to choose the big guy, the mega power, the guys that's getting $10.8 million a year from the UFC to do this job. I think that if we were telling the truth, those are the guys that we believed. If we did, then we also need to believe USADA when they come out and say Anderson wasn't guilty. And Ariel, I'm a little bit confused how, if he's not, why is he still sitting on a suspension? Even if this is good news that it's till November, I'm a little confused why it doesn't just go away completely. I'm sure there's an answer to that, and there's something that's within the rules, but it does appear that we are adhering to the rules that we make up on the spot. We've seen this with Junior Dos Santos. We've seen this with Little Nog, and now we're seeing it with Anderson, and all of them went down for the same diuretic, and that was a big red flag to all of us on the outside because we're going, well, wait a minute. Junior fights at heavyweight. He would never need a diuretic. The other two don't have fights coming up for months. Certainly they wouldn't benefit from a diuretic. The story was very confusing. And I also have to tell you this, Ariel, and I don't mean to go in too many different directions, but I feel that this thing's got a lot of arms to it. Yeah. What does Anderson do to get some kind of retribution here? Does he go after USADA? Or is it the UFC that has hired USADA? USADA has got it wrong again. Who writes the check to make good on this? And Ariel, my final point, but I must say this to you. You and I were discussing this a few weeks ago, that USADA is doing something very peculiar, which is they've now started a PR arm where they're putting T-shirts and buttons and stickers on guys to say that they've been tested. Well, where's that positive PR arm to come out and get a little piece of Anderson's integrity back that they took from him?
I like this. I like Chael actually sticking up for his old friend Anderson Silva. Anderson actually provided me through his team with a short statement about what he deems to be a great day. He says, "This is great news. I'm vindicated. The past 9 months have been extremely difficult. I felt like my career and everything I had worked so hard for was dying and my future was hanging in the balance. I knew in my heart that I had done nothing wrong and fully cooperated with USADA during their inquiry to prove it," end quote. Now that's Anderson Silva, and I would say to you, Chael, that USADA is saying, yeah, okay, we're going to recognize that you didn't knowingly cheat, but still you are responsible for what you put in your body. So even though you took what is being deemed as a tainted supplement, you are still going to get punished for it. So that's why they're saying that you still have to wait out to the fall. By the way, Anderson and his team are saying that he is eligible to come back end of October, October 26th to be exact, the date of the test. But then USADA today said he's eligible to come back on November 10th, which is the date that they announced it. So there's some discrepancy there, which seems like a bit of a fumble, if you ask me. Speaks to the larger issue here, which I think you're right about. There's so many issues, and we could talk about them at length. Why are they announcing these things, before they're flushed out? Why, you get provisionally suspended, but you're not told, at least the public isn't told, what the crime is, so to speak. If I get arrested for doing something, the world knows what I did. So now you're being painted as guilty before you're innocent, as opposed to the opposite way. The problem with Anderson is he already has the one, strike, which was after the Nick Diaz fight. So I don't think that you can walk away like totally scot-free from this situation. This was the second strike, and I remember afterwards, in fact, you could almost say it's the third strike because he failed 2 tests from that Nick Diaz fight, but that's besides the point at this juncture. He, after that announcement prior to the Kelvin Gastelum fight, he said he was innocent, but everyone said that's it. The legacy is done. You're no longer the GOAT. You're no longer the pound-for-pound king. Hey, give me a second here. You had like 3 minutes. Anyway, the point is Anderson has that previous one against Nick Diaz. That's the problem. But it's good to have him back, and I'm sure the UFC would love to have him back. It's just hard to ignore what happened after the Nick Diaz fight. So I'm happy that he's somewhat vindicated here, but I don't know if the legacy necessarily changes, if you catch my drift.
Yeah, Ariel, I want to add this, though. When you're talking about the strikes matter because your third strike, you're out. It's a lifetime ban. So if they're coming out and saying he did not do this, and we're going to do our best to rectify it, we're not going to try to clear him. We're not going to give him any money. We're not going to do anything like that, but we will let him fight again. Look, that strike matters, and I also have to tell you this. USADA has integrity. They come in whether you like the rules or not, but they follow them pretty closely. When they have an inconsistency, it's a big problem. I know what you said, Ariel, that they're saying that he gets a retroactive ban because he didn't knowingly take it. Well, there was an athlete in the Olympic Games from India who had a teammate, a competitor, douse his food. They caught him. Waved the whole thing off.
Yeah, it's a very complicated issue, and guess what? I have a feeling that we'll be talking about it again, involving many different fighters at this point, as long as that USADA relationship continues to exist.